Hi, this is Ed. Hello to all of my patrons. I've got another video here on something strange, I thought, which was this post I found. I've started looking for stuff instead of relying on the lists themselves. But this is a really interesting post. It's got 20,000 comments. And the actual headline of the post is, "What's the most BS sounding but true fact you know?" It's got a lot of interesting ones in there, and we're going to read out 20 of them and then a few comments as well. And then we'll do the questions from my Patreon account straight after this. I'm going to try to not keep this to an hour like last time, because it gets over an hour, and I think that's probably a bit too long for most people. Let's just get right into it here before we go into the Patreon questions. I think I've got like about maybe 7 questions. So here is the headline: what's the most BS sounding but true fact you know? Let's go through 20 of them, and I'll be judging them on 1 to 5. I'll be judging them on 1 to 5 as normal. And if it's I think it's a really great fact, super surprising, okay, it gets a 5. If it's unbelievably surprising, it's got a number 5. If it's very surprising, it just gets a number 1. Okay, cosmic rays here for 1. Number 1, cosmic rays from outer space cause glitches in electronics. In some electronics, cosmic rays are the primary source of soft errors. Cosmic rays are one of the main reasons that servers and high readability computers use error correcting RAM, and it's got a link there to Wikipedia. Is that surprising to me? It's a little bit surprising. It doesn't blow me away with surprise, but it's a little bit surprising. I'm going to give that 0 out of 5. When you get a kidney transplant, as fact number 2 here, they usually just leave your original kidneys in your body and put in the 3rd kidney in your pelvis. That's very surprising to me, and I give that a 1. Okay, it's extremely surprising. I thought they would have removed your kidneys instead of just giving you a 3rd kidney in your pelvis. It's quite weird. But hey, you know, that's a number 1. A lot of people stating, that this is true and giving anecdotal accounts of it. That's fact number 2. And I realize this might be boring. This is a fact, and I'm going to show you a fact of my own after this. Okay, I'm going to show you an Ed fact, which I think is surprising. It's actually a very surprising fact, in my opinion. My brother-in-law, this is fact number 3, was born with... Okay, so those are the comments there. Let's go down there. Trees have such intricate root systems that a tree low on a particular type of nutrient will acquire some of his neighbors and make up for it later. This is especially prevalent during the winter months when some trees don't have leaves and so need extra help from their evergreen friends. Well, I already knew that, and in fact, the redwood trees, I believe, are all interlinked. They're described as one organism. I could be mistaken about the type of tree, but I think most people aren't really surprised by that, are they? So it's a 0 there for number 4. Number 5, a moose can dive underwater down to nearly 20 feet in search of food. It's like a fish. That's really what it is, if it can dive under 20 feet. Apparently that's another fact that sounds fake, but it's actually true. You know, you kind of get this because all these have been upvoted massively, so obviously people have checked it. Maybe they haven't, I'm not sure. But a moose going down 20 feet in search of food like a fish? I can't picture it myself. I can't picture a moose diving down like a dolphin in search of food. You know, they've got those huge antlers and all that usually, right? Or at least the male mooses do. So that one's if that's true, that's a really surprising thing. I'd give that a 1. Okay, let's go to number 6 here. I told you this is going a lot faster than I thought it was. But I still have my own fact after these facts, which I'm going to surprise people. I think it's quite a surprising fact anyway. There used to be a flying reptile, for fact number 6, that was as tall as a giraffe. Let's have a look at this reptile on Wikipedia. There it is. If we just scroll over a little bit, you can see there. Don't mind my screen recorder. I'll just move that down. That's it there. Is it surprising? No, not really. Sorry. No, it's not surprising at all. Just moving my screen recorder around on screen, trying to move things around a little bit to give us a little bit more space here. Is that surprising? I would say no, it is not surprising. I give that a 0 out of 10, out of 5. Okay, it's not surprising at all to me. That's number 6. Let's go for number 7. There is more fresh water contained in Loch Ness than in all the rivers and lakes of England and Wales combined. Does that surprise me? Not particularly. I mean, Loch Ness is massive, and England doesn't have any huge rivers unless you include the Thames River, which is a large river, but it's, you know, Loch Ness is big. It's a vast swath of water. It is a bit surprising. Here is another one, but I wouldn't give it a 1. I'd give it a 0. Here's the other one. It also contains more Loch Ness monsters than all the rivers and lakes in England and Wales combined. It does. It does indeed. That is fact number 7. Fact number 8. Only 10 to 13% of index data on the internet is pornography. 4 times that amount is spam. 4 times. So literally half the internet is literally spam and pornography. Okay, well, it's an interesting fact. I don't know how you'd ever measure that, because I don't know. How do they measure that? But I guess they have the statistics. Does it surprise me? Not really. Okay, doesn't surprise me at all. I'm going to give that a 0, and I think that's number 7. So let's go to number 8. It is possible for a professional mimic to forget his voice. It is possible for a professional mimic to forget his voice. I don't even know what that means. Okay, someone spends their time mimicking other voices and forgets their own. Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing something a lot, you might forget your own voice. Sure, I mean, it's not surprising. That is a 0. Let's go for number 9 here. I read that as mime and thought, well, that makes sense. Okay, this is in relation to up here. They read it that a professional mimic, is it professional? It is possible for a professional mimic to forget his voice. They read it as mime to forget their voice, and of course, that almost turns into a joke. Let's go to number 9 here. Elephants can control their penis like a second trunk. This is the internet. Thanks for that gold. I'll use that better in my Reddit experience. Okay, I never knew that. That gets a 0 though. I mean, all animals have different abilities, really. Okay, number 10. Let's find number 10 down here. 14% of the population is missing a tendon in their arm. Yeah, there's like a fraction percent of the populations that are missing the Rh negative. It's a protein or something. That's those that are negative, the rhesus monkey gene. No one knows the evolutionary connection. Let's go. That's number 11. Is that interesting? It's kind of interesting. It's weird. It is weird, isn't it? I'm going to give it a number 1. That's an interesting little fact. I'm not sure how big the tendon is. Number 12 here. An avocado is a berry. A strawberry is not. Strawberry is a fruit, isn't it? Because it has, is it because it has seeds? I don't know. No. Why is a strawberry? Well, because it doesn't have seeds, so it's not a fruit. It's a, what is it, a vegetable? Look, that brings back the old wisdom, which is a really smart person will tell you that, will tell you that a strawberry is not as, well, they'll tell you like a strawberry is a vegetable. A person with wisdom will tell you they know that a strawberry is not a vegetable or whatever, but they also know not to put it in their salad. I butchered that, but that's number 12. I give that a 0. I think that's just really a categorization depending on how people categorize it, right? Really. Is number, what is that, number 12? So this is number 13. If you melted down the Eiffel Tower, the pool of iron would be less than 3 inches deep in a square area the same dimensions as the tower base. Somehow I just don't believe that's true. I just don't believe it's true. I think the mass of it would probably give it a bit higher than 3 inches. I don't know. Maybe the key to the riddle is there's something else in there. I don't know. Is it made of iron? And is it made of other metals? You know, a little interesting fact. There is a secret room in the Eiffel Tower. Did you know that? Yes, this is the esoteric world I live in. I go looking for stuff like this. I'll just go grab a clip of it and I'll be back in 1 second. Here is the secret room, or the Eiffel Tower apartment, and there is a mannequins there of Gustav Eiffel there, and also Thomas Edison. Okay, so they are in the Eiffel Tower itself. So it's an interesting thing. If you're traveling to Paris, seeing the sights from the top of the Eiffel Tower is a can't miss opportunity. Now, 4 lucky people will have the chance to enjoy the iconic building in a unique way from their own luxurious apartment on the top first floor. So a vacation rental company, Home Away, is giving away 4 winners the chance to stay in a living... What is this? Is this an advertisement? That's beside the point. There is actually... If you look into it, there's actually... See, I don't even know what's an ad anymore. I can't tell. It's like that episode of South Park when they've got Jimmy, you know, the guy on the crutches. I don't know if you watch South Park. And these bunch of scientists, news people saying, can you tell what's wrong with this girl behind the glass thing? You know, and it's treated like she's an alien. And then he looks at her for a while. He's got this unique gift to spot ads. And he goes, does she know she's an ad? Because like ads invade South Park. Now, South Park's got some funny things in it. It's got some pretty, yeah, it's not a very serious program, but yeah. So that was 13. Okay, so let's go to 14 here. There were people who were killed by the atom bombs who were born during the Japanese samurai era. Wow, that would have been the the 19th century. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, 1940s, someone born in like 1860. Yeah, sure, there could have been. You know, 1860 in the United States was equivalent of like the Civil War or something, isn't it? And around that time, so sure, 1940s, there would have probably been alive someone born in the Civil War era as well. So I'm going to give that one a 0. By the way, the Eiffel Tower is a 0 too. It's not that I don't believe it, it's that would it surprise me if it was 3 inches of molten iron? Not really. I'd be like, yeah, well, I mean, it is flat, you know, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. Here's number 14 here. The United States in World War II created a bomb that used bats. I already knew this, as a matter of fact. The bats would be carrying small incendiary charges that would be released from the bomb in mid-air, causing them to fly and scatter to different buildings in the area. The charges would then detonate and set all the buildings on fire. It was tested and proven to be very effective. This was actually approved by the government for developmental development and production, and then cancelled because of the atomic bomb. The idea was thought up by a dentist who was friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. You know, they used to actually... Look, war will make use of anything, right? War is anything goes to win. They used to put... This is horrendous. They used to put bombs on dolphins. They also used to have bombs that would like them swim into like a death charge and blow up. I mean... what am I supposed to say? I mean, humanity does some crazy stuff, but that is pretty bad. Let's get to 0. I already knew about that. It's kind of interesting. It's actually, you know what, I'm being too hard. That would be a 1 for most people because it is kind of really interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting fact. I've heard about it before, as I said. What are we at? 14? This is 15 now. We have to go down here. Those are more replies. IPv6 would allow every atom on the surface of the Earth to have its own IP address, with enough spare to do Earth 100 times. Okay, I don't know. I mean, do I know that's true? I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. Apparently, there's more chess moves possible than there are atoms in like our solar system or something weird. I don't even know if I believe that, you know. I mean, it's kind of like one of those facts which, how do you even quantify it? You know, how do you even quantify it? I mean, how do you need to be a mathematician. But if it's real, I mean, it's an extremely interesting fact. I'd give that a 1 out of 5. Yeah, totally. Number 16 here. Cats lose almost as much fluid in the saliva while grooming themselves as they do through urination. It's kind of quite... I don't know. Is it true? It's kind of quite disgusting, really. I mean, you know, with cats licking themselves all the time. It's like, it's kind of weird. I don't know. But, you know, some dog owners, they'll like have... You know, and if you do this, whatever, it's your own dog, but they like eating peanut butter with their fingers, and then they'll like give the peanut butter on their hands to the dog, and it'll lick it off their hands, and then they're kind of eating the peanut butter again with their fingers. Like, yeah, I don't get that. I don't know about that. No wonder there's so many like weird diseases passed around, you know. That's a bit over the top. That's maybe loving your dog a bit too much there. It's like borderline kind of something weird. That's an interesting fact to give it a 1. What are we at to? 16? We're at 17 now. Why can't I keep tracking numbers anymore? I wanted to be a physicist when I was growing up, so it's not going to work well, is it? Number 17, the CEO of Flood of the Poor, the largest international relief and development organization, is named Robin Manford. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Are they supposed to say that Manford sounds like Hood or something? Robin Hood? Marfood. Okay. Marfood. Okay, Robin Marfood. More food. Okay, I get it. As the CEO of that is named Robin Morefood. Okay, yeah, well, look, these kinds of things might seem very strange, but it probably goes into the hiring of the person or the person's life choices, right? They end up taking in the suggestion of their own name, or those in the interview process do, and they get hired or construct these things that sound like their own name. So we must be at 17 now. The introduction, I'm going to give that 0. The introduction of boxing gloves led to a steep increases in concussions. Well, the gloves weigh more, right? So you're getting hit with more, you're getting hit with a certain velocity, and you're getting hit with more weight in your head, which has been, if you look at it, it hits your head and it's been pushed through your body, more kinetic weight. So they're there to, as this person says, to protect the hands, not the head. Well, it's just what it is, really. Yeah, I think that's an interesting fact. to give that a number 1. And we're up to 18 now, must be. Hold on, phone, I'll be back 1 second. Sorry, it seems like it's every time I do sit down and do these videos, I'm waiting for a call, so the phone comes in on the background. I apologise for that one. Okay, what are we up to? 18? The major engagements of the American Civil War started in a man's backyard and ended in the same man's parlour room. Fixed for historical accuracy. And this person say, yeah, he even moved like 100 miles away. Okay, that's a weird fact. I'll give that a number 1 out of 5. Let's just make sure. An octopus has 3 hearts. Never knew that. Give it a number 1. I think it's an interesting fact. One more here for the archives. Let's see. Saudi Arabia imports camels from Australia. Well, actually, Australia has one of the biggest camel farms, but it is an unusual fact. This is actually a really good thread, actually. There's a lot of things. The first man to fly and the first man to walk on the moon were alive at the same time. Neil Armstrong was 17 when Orville Wright died. What am I supposed to say to that? I don't believe he landed on the moon. If you soak potatoes in hydrogen peroxide, the potatoes turn the peroxide into a clear drinking water, H2O. Don't know why you would need this outside of just some bizarre survival situation. But there it is. If you soak potatoes in hydrogen peroxide, the potatoes turn the peroxide into a clear drinking water. That is unusual. I give that a number 1. The brothers of John Wilkes Booth saved Abraham Lincoln's son from being hit by a train without knowing who he saved. Okay, well, let's get on to my one. I've got an interesting fact. Okay, before I get into this fact, you've all heard, I'll tell you how it came into this fact, actually. I have a bottle in my hand of Malie. What's that? M-A-I-L-I-E. It's French, I guess. I don't know how to say that. And it's whole grain mustard. It's 260 grams. And I eat this mustard with food I eat. I just brought this in here. But the other day, I was looking at this and I was going, it says it was founded in 1747. So I thought to myself, wow, that's so old. You know, these people must have been in the mustard business forever. And I looked up the company, as you do. You know, everyone does these kinds of things, I guess, or maybe I'm just weird. And I looked up the company and I was thinking to myself, wow, that's really old. So what I did is I got this thing in my mind. What is the oldest company? What is the oldest company on planet Earth? You know, obviously planet Earth, but what's the oldest company that's known? And thus began a little trip down the rabbit hole. A tiny rabbit hole, but let's go take a little look here and I'll tell you why it's a rabbit hole afterwards. So, I've just got the link open here. So, what do people think the oldest company is? Because obviously, as I look at this mustard here in my hand, 1747, you're probably thinking maybe 1500s, 1300s maybe? Maybe 1300s? No, not really. Look at this. List of the oldest companies. Japan, this company here, which is a construction company, in 578. So literally around the end fall of the Roman Empire. And it's still running. These are companies that are still running today. Well, most of them are. Very weird, isn't that? So this one is an interesting one in Japan in 1705, 100 years later. It is a bathhouse. Okay? So we'll go have a look at the actual website here, but it is a bathhouse and it was founded in 1705. It is the oldest hotel and one of the oldest companies in operation. In 2011, the hotel was officially recognized by the Guinness Book of Records, and it has been operated by 52 generations of the same family, including adopted heirs for over 1,300 years. Think about that for a moment. That one company, which is a bathhouse on the side of near Mount Fuji, here is it here, absolutely majestic kind of bathhouse. I mean, let's go through some photos. Look at that. Look at how old it is. I mean, obviously it's had renovations, but the Japanese keep things the way they are for the most part. And this was the trip down the rabbit hole, because I started asking another question here. I started asking why. It's a little wee trip down the rabbit hole. You see, because according to a report published by the Bank of Korea in 2008 and looked at 41 countries, there were 5,586 companies older than 200 years old. Of these, 3,100 of those, 3,100 were in Japan. Now that's a massive difference than the other 800 in Germany, or 200 in the Netherlands, or even 196 in France. Okay, there's a massive difference, obviously. It's the vast majority of the oldest companies in history are from Japan. Look at them all here. The oldest country, and then countries, and then you are companies, and then you ask why. Why? Because a company is made up of a lot of different things that, you know, a lot of different things that, of course, are sensitive throughout time. They are a business, okay, so they have to operate with an economic, it's not like a castle or something that's been shared by the same family, right? You know, it's a business for the most part. It has to be a functioning business. It has to survive all these political environments. And then it came to me, Japan is different. Why is Japan different? Well, if you think of the people of Japan, they're different. Okay, they're just different. Their customs and stuff are very different. And Japan was partially founded by the military, because the military, it's a long story, but there was a military influence in there, which is founded off how the story goes. I don't know how accurate it is. It was one of the emperor's ships that coming from China back in the days. They're on the search for the cure for immortality, and instead of going back home, they came onto the shores of Japan and immigrated with the people. There were people there already, obviously, the original Japanese people. They have a name, I can't remember what the exact name is, but they integrated there, and a lot of it became, you know, there was a kind of a regimented kind of military kind of precision, which was adapted into their lifestyles. But one thing interesting about this I found was that Japan has two things, okay, that are different from anywhere else. They are an island, literally surrounded by sea. Second, apart from their customs and things like that, they're very old. The original Japanese people dating back thousands of years. In fact, there's been studies on a certain period of Japan that was apparently at peace for 5,000 years or something. They looked at the skull fragments and they couldn't find anything that was harmed by martial weaponry or anything like that. They assumed that there was just peace. You know, there was no wars broke out, and they wondered why. Archaeologists have been, there was something that came to light a few years ago. So the Japanese people have a way of living, interacting, and really surviving that. Now in Europe, if you look at this, these numbers are very small. Well, Europe is made up of different countries. They're all invading each other all the time. They're always attacking each other. You know, there's numerous wars, okay? But for Japan, largely, although they've gone through a number of wars, of course, World War II included, they haven't been expansive. I don't think there's many small expansions. Of course, they went into China, etc., and small little expansions, but they never, although they did those things, they were never, you know, went on massive campaigns like, you know, the Ottoman Empire or the Assyrians or, you know, the Crusades or something like that, where they had a major force and they left. There was just a lot of differences there, so I thought that was an interesting little nugget. You know, you're dealing with these, I mean, this bathhouse is 700. I mean, this company there is 578 BC. Okay, and then I looked up an Irish one there, which was Sheen's Bar. Been completely remodeled. It doesn't even look like it's the same location. Okay, so I'm not really including these places that just say they're in the same building that's 700 years old. I'm talking about businesses. If you look at the Japanese examples that have been in the family, or they're still operating, you know, and they produce things. They don't just like, isn't a location where people get drunk. Obviously it has a lot of historical value, but if you just go past, you only have those few. Look how few there are there, still surviving. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those under, let's say, well, all of them are under, all those are Japanese under 800 years. So they have all the marks for the oldest companies under 800 years. And then when you get to here, you even get Japan and all of these. From the 1100s. What was the 1100s? Well, this time here, if we go back to the 800s, that's literally the time of the Vikings. Right? So you're literally dealing with the end era of like the Vikings and things like that. So really that period. And you still have Japan even in the 1100s. Okay, through the Dark Ages. I've still got companies. Let's pick one random here. There are Hotel, there's one there. Here's another Japanese one. It's a traditional Japanese shop with medicinal herbs, founded in 1184 and operated by the 24th generation of the same family. People talk about, you know, brothers and co's been like in the family for like 3 generations. You know, you always hear this in these, you know, in New Zealand or somewhere or whatever. This has been operated the same hands for 24 generations. The bathhouse above in the hotel was 50-something generations. It's been in the family here for 52 generations. Quite incredible if you ask me. Let's take another one from Japan here. Well, let's do a sample here. Let's take one from Germany. It's a castle and winery. It has been making wine for 900 years. I won't read the rest of it, but has it been in the same family for that long? No, it hasn't. It's just a place that makes wine. So yes, it's been handed down numerous times, I get that, but I mean, you read these Japanese ones and they've all been on the same family for that long. And you wonder, if anyone knows how to give a bath or have a great bathhouse, it's got to be a family that's been doing it for 52 generations. It's incredible, or 27 generations, so on and so forth. So that's a little interesting little fact I thought I would share, given that we're on that little list of things that seem crazy. I guess this one doesn't really seem like that in retrospect, but it did make me wonder why Japan. And then I was thinking to myself how people build survival bunkers, okay? And they build them underground, deep underground, or they build them, you know, in the side of hills. But if you're looking at real survival, you really should look at the places on Earth where things are untouched for a long time, that seem beyond the reach of war. And that would be the place where this is located. Right there, or right here. That's where you'd want to go. You'd literally want to live down the road from this place. Okay, which is this prefecture here, which is a standard town, but it seems to be near Mount Fuji. And you think Mount Fuji's is going to... well, here's Mount Fuji here anyway. It's near Mount Fuji, which, you know, is a famous mountain in Japan right there. I just thought that was incredible, and I just wanted to share it with everyone. Let's just head over to the comment section. First of all, thank you to all of the people that commented on my video. Thank you to all my patrons. I guess the old photos wasn't that interesting in retrospect, but what can we do? This is from Kim here. Thanks, Ed, you are the best. Well, thank you, Kim. Another one, in regards to your earlier video when you explained your thoughts on the concerted effort to get everyone to give up on the justice system, have you seen the trailer for this new movie coming out in September? I'll just take a look at it now. So I can't play all of it because of copyright, but let's speed it up a little bit here if it allows us to speed it up to 1.5. Maybe that'll solve a little bit of the problem. Let's watch a little bit of it. I don't have it rerouted. Well, I'll just reroute the audio through the through here, so it should play now.
Corrupt judges, party cops. What do I want? I want justice. Who's my girl? My girl has love in her heart, and snow in her eyes, and peppermint in her blood.
Happy birthday, kiddo. Mrs. North? I'm very sorry for your loss. We have 3 suspects in custody, but they're all linked to the Garcia cartel. No witnesses have been willing to step up.
These cartels are no joke. They've got everyone in their pockets.
You've been through a terrible tragedy. Maybe you didn't see what you think you saw.
So I won't play any more of that there because it's copyright. But no, I haven't seen that myself. Let's just go back here. So here we are back on Patreon. No, I haven't seen that, Kim, but I will check that out. I'll check out the longer trailer. I might actually watch it as well. But yeah, I think that there is something in there. It's either that the justice system is just absolutely corrupt everywhere, which could be totally the case. So because you can only pay off so many people, and you can only blackmail so many people before the whole thing just starts to be openly corrupt and starts to collapse. But there seems to be a concerted effort by the way that these cases are handled. There was one today, as a matter of fact, I was going to comment on, but I might comment on tomorrow. It involved another school principal who abused someone and got off without any jail time. But there could be, but as I said, it's really hard to really say. But it's just a feeling I have. Thanks, Kim. Here's another one from Beck. Thanks, Ed. I enjoyed a little wander down history lane. I do like historic photos. They can really transport you to eras before you were born. You missed out on the Tesla with the free energy tower. Not sure why, but I just caught a glimpse as you scrolled next to that. Yeah, I went through some of them quite fast. As for the time, who cares? I watch Dark Journalist, whose live shows are 3 hours, including audience questions and comments at the end. His X series is outstanding. Highly recommend that. I have to check out Dark Journalist. A lot of people have talked about them before. Beck saying here also, on another note, I love how New Zealanders Day Māori properly. As an Aussie, I say it wrong and I can't pronounce it. Well, if you want to learn how to, most people say Maori, okay, not here in New Zealand, but that's how they would say it, let's say in another country. If you want to learn how to pronounce it properly, like in New Zealand, you just think of mouldy bread. You know how you get bread and it goes mouldy? You know, to get like a mold on it? Just say mouldy bread, okay? And mouldy is how you pronounce Maori. Okay, you don't say Maori, but that's what some people say, so just there a little tip. Here is Mark Scully here. I think that was Jerry in the thumbnail. I don't know who Jerry is. Oh, Jerry. Okay, yeah. If you want to see a channel that's got some weird stuff on it, check out Mark's one here. Okay, Mark is has this kind of like costumes and has all these kinds of great stuff on his channel and talks about all kinds of interesting things. I'm assuming you can find him by just typing in his name perhaps or something like that. Thank you, Mark, and also great channel there on YouTube. Here's Doug. This is a castle, and the photo with the NATO flying planes was an important site for the Nazis' rituals. Something very strange, let me tell you something strange about that castle. Okay, I had a picture of that castle on my wall because of that fact. to remind me of what the Nazis got up to. It has since fallen off the wall years ago because I put it on the wall with blue tack. Okay, so it just kept on falling off, so I just wrapped it up and put it away. But yeah, I'm not sure if that was the same castle in the photo, but I am aware of that castle. Thank you, Doug. Tom here says, "Good day, Ed. I really like this video as I always do, and use of etc. etc. is hilarious. Here's a picture of some soldiers, Hitler, etc. etc. and it's a 0 out of 5. Yeah, haha, reminds me of Yada 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 episode from Seinfeld. Well, let's have a look at Tom's Yada Yada here. I'll be back 1 second. So here we are with the Seinfeld episode. Let's take a look here. I'm going to just rewind it.
I'm on 3rd Avenue, minding my own business, and yada yada yada. I get a free massage and a facial.
What a succinct story.
I'm surprised you drive a Cadillac.
Oh, it's not mine. It's my mother's.
Are you close with your parents?
Well, they gave birth to me and yada yada.
Yada what?
Yada yada yada. To be married.
I gotta watch this again. Some of these things
bought the
funny.
wedding invitations and
It had so many good things in it, Seinfeld, didn't it? It was very funny. I think Larry David's input into that, was really, really good. But this is, Seinfeld was very good. I got to watch it again. It's got a lot of hilarious things about it.
yada yada yada. I'm still single.
So what's she doing now?
Yada.
So speaking of exes, my old boyfriend came over late last night. And yada yada yada. Anyway, I'm really tired today.
Listen to this. Marcy comes over and she tells me that her ex-boyfriend was over late last night and yada yada yada. I'm really tired today. You don't think she'd yada yada sex?
I've yada yada sex.
You know what's funny about the 90s? Okay, this is like 1990, right? They actually had things that were funny. I mean, look, I'm laughing at it. Okay, I have a sense of humor. It's just that I don't find things funny. I mean, everything's so warped. Like humor's been destroyed or something, in people. And another strange thing I found out today? I was watching a Joe Rogan interview where Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying he's not an atheist. I thought that was weird for Neil deGrasse Tyson to say. And he was talking about, God being used in different language and, the Jesuits and stuff like this. And he said, and I'm not going to remove that from or whatever. And then I have Jordan Peterson going on about God as well. It's almost like in this day and age, people are like, they're kind of like, they're more open to the thing, right? Because a lot of people are just atheists or, and they were, a few years ago, people were proud to be like an atheist. They're going like, I'm an atheist, like Stalin. Look, there's nothing wrong with being whatever you are. I'm not saying that. Just saying, seeing like a trend happening. Let's keep on going. Yada, yada, yada.
I met this lawyer, we went out to dinner, I had the lobster bisque, we went back to my place, yada yada yada. I never heard from him again.
But you yada yada over the best part.
No, I mentioned the bisque.
Well, I gotta do something.
Well, I gotta do something.
So, back in the days, George Costanza I think it's one of my favourite characters from Seinfeld. George Costanza is he's kind of such a funny character, He's one of the most memorable, I think. Jerry Seinfeld, is alright. What can I say? He's not so much funny, he's just the kind of middle of everything that everything else funny bounces off, the normie character, so to speak. Although he's got his own hang-ups there. Let's go back to the comments here. Thank you, Tom, for that. That looks like it in case I've missed. No, that's pretty much it. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for supporting my channel, of course. Keeping it running here, keeping the coal and the steam engine would not be possible without my patrons, of course. we'll see how long it runs until they probably kick me off Patreon. I just have a feeling, I mean, MasterCard's banning people. To give it a few months, they'll start putting lists together. I think it'll get worse before it gets better. But the world is really waiting for some kind of version, because Bitcoin isn't accessible to everyone, you know, but some kind of version of being able to, not only me, you know, not with like funding mechanisms like this, but even crowdsourcing, you know, Kickstarters or everything that doesn't have to do with MasterCard, doesn't have to do with banks or whatever. But what is that? Well, crypto is it, but it's very hard to get rid of your crypto, you know. Well, not hard, but you have to sell it on local exchanges or sell it on local coins or whatever, which I figured out how to do, but it's like, you know, it's not the same as using a credit card. But whatever, who cares? I mean, you know, by that time I'll be in my house truck anyway. I'll still make videos even if they shut me down, but it's a shame that they don't treat everybody, you know, the same, and they don't, like, it's the world we live in, right? I mean, you get into trouble about now in a Western society, a first world country, for what you talk about. It's not, you haven't committed any crimes, you haven't done anything like inciting violence. You'll get into trouble for what you're talking about, for talking about certain things. It's surreal for me, but whatever. I'm very thankful for my support, though, on Patreon. And thank you each so much. Ask me anything you like. Yeah. In the meantime, though, thank you so much. And I'll see you all tomorrow, and I'll have another Patreon day after tomorrow. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you all later.